and we'll get going. Okay, so ideally, if you do have something like a pillow or even a stack of books or a stack of pillows or a stack of blankets, one of the psoas things that we'll do later is we'll set our hips up high when we're reclining down. And so having that option for bringing your hips up, and for me, I love these big blue blocks. That's what I really enjoy putting my hips up on, but it can be something lower than that if you want to, if that feels better for you. But as we take a comfortable seat, one of the things that we're going to focus on today is working through the shoulders to get into some dolphin and some dolphin plank. So there's your clue as to what our core work is going to be today. So the other thing that you might want to have handy is a strap. And it doesn't have to be a yoga strap specifically, but preferably not something with give, something that you can pull against, okay? So it can be a belt, it can be a scarf type thing, whatever you happen to have, a scarf type thing, that's super helpful. Move your sitting bones. And as you take this comfortable seat, take a moment with your eyes closed to bring your awareness to your breath. And even more so, use your breath as a way to gauge what your energy is like today. Remembering our theme this week has to do with moderating the use of energy. So as we get into some of our core work, maybe choosing to take a modified version or recognizing that you have some energy to use and holding it for longer. Take a couple full deep breaths and notice what's there for you. As you bring your hands to connect at heart center, use a press of your palms to help you lift your heart up a little higher. Draw your shoulder blades onto your back. And then exhale to bow towards your heart. Then softly opening your eyes and releasing your hands down. Give your shoulders some rolls back. Take a moment while you're rolling your shoulders back to sense any of the stuff that might be showing up through the shoulders. You can even take a little movement of your head and your neck here, tuning into those connection places. And now hands come behind your back to clasp or bring fists to your low back, whichever feels the best to you. And then lift up and back with your shoulders, starting to open up and expand through the chest. Lengthen through the back of your neck. If you'd like to take a little ear to shoulder here, you're welcome to. If that does not feel good, then you can stay more stationary with your neck. And then hands in front to clasp, pull forward with your arms and round back through your upper back. Chin tucks in towards your chest. Take a big, full, deep breath. Then inhale, sit tall and switch the cross of your legs again. Come into that less comfortable cross for yourself. Shift your sitting bones. And now, whatever you have for your strap, your belt, whatever it is, take it out in front of you. So you have your hands a little wider than shoulders. And then we're drawing shoulder blades onto our backs. From here, your thumbs are wrapped underneath the strap, and we're going to start to turn our hands so our fists are actually aimed in toward each other. Pull against the strap, draw your shoulder blades onto your back, and then engage through the low belly and ribs. Start to lift your arms up overhead, keeping your palms turned in toward each other, shoulder blades engaged. As you exhale, release the hands back down to about shoulder height, re-engage the shoulder blades. Inhale, lift up with your arms, keeping that turn of your hands so your palms are facing each other. Exhale, back down to shoulder height. One more time, keep shoulder blades engaged, pull against the strap, Keep that turn of your hands. We're creating an external upper arm bone rotation here. And exhale, arms back down to shoulder height. Now go ahead and set the strap aside for a moment. Palms lift up toward the ceiling. Elbows are hugging in toward your sides. Inhale, open up into that gratitude place where your thumbs are moving toward the wall behind you. Up and down movement with your shoulder blades here. Noticing that movement and noticing any places that might feel stuck or difficult to move through, but maybe that movement helps you to open and rotate more. Then fingertips to connect out in front of you. Press fingertips together, elbows are lifted to shoulder height. And then exhale, round in through your upper back, pulling in with the ribs, chin tucks down. Take a couple of movements here side to side through the shoulders. And then back into center, and we'll take one more thing with the strap. So our strap is going to come over our heads. So reaching your arms with the strap overhead so your palms are facing forward now. You're going to bend the left elbow, right arm comes out straight. So you'll have to take a look and notice where they are in space. And now head presses back into the strap. Put both shoulder blades onto your back and begin to press back with your left elbow. And turn your ribs forward as you press back with your elbow. Press your head back, keep shoulder blades engaging, press the elbow back, engage through the ribs and turn the ribs forward. Inhale, lift arms overhead, and exhale, bending the other way. Right elbow bends, left arm is out straight. Send your head back into the strap. And now elbow back in space on the right side, keep shoulder blades engaging, turn your ribs forward, even as your elbow moves back. Keep engaging through the core, send your head back, take a full big breath as the elbow moves back, ribs turn forward. And then inhale back up to center, and exhale, both elbows bend. You might find that the strap comes to your shoulders. Keep engaged through the upper ribs. Inhale, lift up tall with your arms. Exhale, elbows bend. Inhale one more time. And exhale, elbows bend. Good. Inhale, lift arms up, and then release the strap to the side. Roll shoulders back. And then shift forward onto your hands and knees. And from your hands and knees, we're going to find that external upper arm bone rotation that we just did when we moved with our strap. So you're rotating your elbow pits forward and pushing, expanding into the upper back, keeping the head lifted. Take a full big breath and think about filling out that space between your shoulder blades with breath, letting it puff up with breath. Keep that external upper arm bone rotation where your elbow pits are trying to turn forward. And now as you inhale, draw your shoulder blades toward each other and let your chest move toward the ground. Scapular push-ups here. We're going to take 3. Exhale, press and expand into the upper back, drawing shoulder blades broad. Inhale, shoulder blades toward each other, chest moves toward the ground. Exhale, puff up through that space in between your shoulder blades. Inhale, shoulder blades toward each other. And then come back to that neutral place. Settle hips back towards your heels, turn your palms up for that external upper arm bone rotation. And then as you settle your hips back, head can rest down if it's comfortable. And then consciously move your shoulder blades onto your back. And now inhale, rise up to your hands and knees. Step your right foot forward in between your hands. You can always have blocks underneath your hands here if that helps to bring the floor a little closer. Back knee, bump it back as far as is comfortable. You might have it up on a blanket here. But then we'll take this into the psoas variation. So bring your hands up to your hips if that's in your practice today. You can always stay down with your hands just for the hip opener. So wrap the right hip back in space. Press down with your back knee and think of a little lift through your upper thigh, but then bend deeper into your knee joint. One more breath as you walk your hands further onto your low back and lift up with your ribs, lift up with your chest, a little bit of a back bend here. Exhale, hands come down to the front of your mat. Step back to hands and knees and step left foot forward. And as you step your left foot forward, again, if it's in your practice, we're bringing hands up to our hips for the psoas variation here. So now wrap the left hip back in space. And as you settle into your front knee, you're pushing the back knee down so that your hip isn't sinking down, but has a little lift. Then with your hands pressing down onto your hips, lift up with your ribs, lift up with your chest. Engage the low belly and ribs, even as you lift your ribs higher. Exhale, hands come down to the front of your mat and switch again. Stepping left foot back, step the right foot forward. And now inch that back knee back as far as is comfortable and bring your hands up to your hips. Wrap the right hip back. And this time, hands clasp if that's in your practice today. If it is, press palms together and wrap the elbows back, keeping them bent. Now, inhale, lift up with your front body, lift your ribs, your chest, your heart. Exhale, engage the core. Next exhale, release the hands, bringing them down to the front of your mat. And then step back with the right leg. Step the left leg forward. So the second side, again, work your back knee back as far as it can be. That's that length through the bottom part of the psoas, okay? So now as you lift your heart up, hands come to your hips to start with. Center with your hips. Settle into your front knee and give your back knee a little press. And then hands can clasp if you would like to. You can always keep your hands at your hips instead. Palms press, elbows bend and hug back toward each other. Inhale, lift up through your front. Exhale, engage through the low belly and ribs. Next exhale, releasing the hands down. And one more time, settle back, hips to heels for your child's pose. And if you want, you can take that turn of your palms up here to give that external upper arm bone rotation, or if it feels better to have your hands planted, you can. Deep breath. And now inhaling, rise up to your hands and knees. And then find that external upper arm bone rotation and push, expand into the upper back. Toes tuck, lift your hips up and back, downward facing dog pose. And then push from your back muscles out through your hands to lift your sitting bones higher. And now walk your way forward, coming into your forward fold at the front of your mat. Take an inhale and lengthen part way, find a long spine. Exhale and fold over your legs. Hands to hips. Press back on hips, lift up with shoulders and elbows first. Squeeze your glutes and rise all the way up to stand. Okay, so now from inner hip bone distance apart and parallel with your feet. Lift and spread your toes and then root down with your toes. Inhale, reach your arms up overhead. Hold on to opposite elbows. If you have some super tight shoulders, that might be elbows in front of your head a little ways. That's okay too. Broaden tops of shoulders and reach up through the outsides of your arms. Reach up through your elbows. Take a big deep breath as you keep your shoulder blades engaged. Start a little side stretch, shifting from one side to the other side, thinking of length all the way from your foot through your elbow as you reach it up. Come back to center, switch the cross, holding on with the other side. Broaden tops of shoulders and lift with the outsides of your arms through the elbows. Engage through the low belly and the ribs. Inhale, lift your heart, take a little tiny back bend. Full exhale, find that engagement through the core. Inhale, rise back up and release the arms. Give your arms a little shake. Inhale, stretch up overhead. Exhale, soft through the knees to fold over your legs. Inhale, lengthen part way, extend through the heart. Exhale and fold. Planting fingertips, you're stepping right foot back into your lunge and centering with the hips. So you're drawing your left hip back in space. And then bring your hands up to your hips to rise. And as you center with your hips, tone the low belly and the ribs. Hands again come behind to clasp. And as you clasp, if that's tough on the shoulders, then you can have hands at the hips instead or fists at the low back. Lift up and back through the shoulders. Elbows reach toward the wall behind you and hug back so you can feel your shoulder blades engage. And now, hands at your hips if you have them clasped. Turn and plant your back heel, open it up to warrior two, so we'll open the hips up just a little. Turn open with the front knee, lift your heart. And again, hands either clasp or take fists to your low back. Take a big inhale, expand and lift through the heart. Exhale, engage the core. Next exhale, releasing the hands down, plant them, tuck your toes, and step all the way back to a downward facing dog pose. Take a full breath. Coming down onto your knees, set your forearms on the ground. And as you set your forearms on the ground, think of your forearms as being parallel with each other. So from middle finger back to the center of your elbow, parallel lines. Press, expand into the upper back. And now think of rotating the upper arm bones out like we have been doing, but this is a shorter space for you to work with, so it doesn't move as much. Stay pressing through the upper arm bones, lift and expand into the upper back. Your choice for 2 breaths. If you want to, you can tuck your toes and lift your hips up into your dolphin pose. Gaze is a little bit in between your forearms. Full big breath, push, and maybe lift your sitting bones higher. Lower to your knees, hips back towards your heels. Take a child's pose for just a moment, deep breath. Then inhale, rise to hands and knees. Your choice, you can move to forward fold from hands and knees, or lift your hips up and back, downward facing dog pose to step forward. Finding your forward fold at the front of your mat, knees are as bent as they need to be. You can let your arms hang here. If you bend your knees enough to let your belly rest against your legs, take a couple big breaths. Or if you set your elbows onto your thighs to take a little bit more modified version here, take a few breaths. And then releasing fingertips to the ground or your blocks, step your left foot back into your lunge. Root down through your feet, bring your hands up to your hips to rise. Back knee is always welcome to be on the ground here, but it's a little easier to transition to warrior two with your knee lifted. So wrap your right hip back in space, lift up through your sides, hands behind to clasp, press palms together. As you lift up with your front body, lifting up through ribs and collarbones, engage the core. Hugging bent elbows back toward each other, whether you have hands at your hips or clasped, either one. Take a big breath. And now let's release the clasp to turn open to warrior two. So hands to hips to find that opening. You're going to bump your back foot back, hips open to the left side, front knee opens toward the pinky toe edge. And now back to that clasp or fists or hands at hips. Lift up with your heart. And as you do so, engage the low belly, the ribs. Hug elbows toward each other. Big breath. Exhaling, hands come down to the front of your mat and step all the way back as you tuck your toes into either hands and knees or downward facing dog pose. Deep breath. And now knees down, and we'll set ourselves up again for our dolphin, but this time we're going to move in and out of dolphin into a forearm plank. So as we do this, if you find you need to bring knees down, then you're welcome to at any time. If you find that you need to take a child's pose, you're welcome to at any time. Set forearms down, elbows down, and think of Elbows stacked directly underneath your shoulders. And then those lines that are parallel from the middle finger back to the center of your elbow. And then push. And as you push, expand into the upper back. If you found in your dolphin pose before that your hands or your elbows tend to shift, then maybe set a block in between your hands here. As you root through the elbows and expand into the upper back, send your sitting bones up and then engage the low belly and the ribs. Try to lift the ribs into the back body. From there, tuck toes under, lift hips up and back for your dolphin pose if you would like. Push with your elbows. Try to find that broadening of the upper arm bones as you tilt sitting bones up. Engage through the low belly and the ribs. Walk your feet back into your forearm plank, remembering that you can always set knees down. Ribs move forward, heart moves forward. Upper arm bones are rotating. Take a full breath. Then walk your feet back in, coming into your dolphin pose. We're going to do that 2 more times, or take a rest if you need to moderate your energy. Sitting bones lift, core engages, ribs engage. Walk your feet out, and remember, you can also put your knees down here to help. Broaden through the upper arm bones, ribs move forward, gaze a little forward. Exhale, walk your feet in, hips lift. Take a big breath, broaden tops of shoulders. Engage through the low belly and the ribs, walk your feet out. Full breath, last one. Find that broadening through tops of shoulders, ribs move forward, collarbones forward. And then walk your feet back in. Knees down, hips to heels. Taking a child's pose that feels good to you, whatever that looks like. Maybe arms back alongside your body so your shoulders can release down. Whatever that is, take a deep breath. And then pushing yourself up to your seat, shift your hips off to one side, footprints to the floor in front. And now, with your feet on the floor in front of you, hold on to your knees above or below, and move with your breath. Inhale, sit tall, tilt your belly forward. Exhale, round your spine back. Take 2 more. Full inhale, long, deep exhale. Starting to let your breath calm. Then inhale, sit tall, and we're gonna make our way all the way down onto our backs. Be sure you have a prop handy. Remember, it could be anything from a pillow, bolster, blanket, block, stack of books, whatever you happen to have, okay? So now, as you walk your feet in towards your body, you can take just a moment here to press your hands into your upper thighs and move a little bit through your hips. A little forward and back, side to side. And now we're going to lift our hips up onto a prop. Whatever prop feels the best to you. It can be higher or lower. So press feet into the ground, press elbows down, lift your hips, and then bring a prop underneath your hips. Letting your hips rest onto your prop. Take a full big breath. And staying right here might be the best thing for you. If you'd like to add that little bit of extra psoas stretch, and you can walk your legs out long in front of you. And just notice that distance from the inner thighs through the hip bones all the way up to the back ribs, right up close to the spine, which is where the psoas is. If you want, you can reach your arms, take a deep breath. And now walking feet back in, lift your hips, slip your prop out from underneath, and then gently set your hips back down. And now bringing the right knee in toward your chest and the left leg extended all the way out if that's comfortable. You can always keep your left knee bent. Rock a little side to side with your knee. And then switch legs. As your left knee draws in and your right leg extends, rock a little side to side. And then both feet come to the ground. Walk your feet out wider than your mat. And now drop both knees over to the left side and check your right thigh. Be sure that it's straight ahead from your hip as opposed to angled into the left side. Feet are flexed. And then it's your choice. You can stay right here, just reaching through the thigh. You can set your left foot over the thigh to give that little extra thigh stretch. Or you can use your right hand at your right hip to help you rotate your hip more to the left, of lifting it and rotating it. Whatever variation you're in, you can release the hand, release the foot, and then take both knees over to the left side. And again, check the position of your left thigh. Make sure it's straight ahead and not angled to the right. Give your feet a flex. And then you choose. Stay right here, reaching through your thigh. Set your left foot over your thigh, or your right foot over your left thigh rather. Or left hand to your hip to help you rotate it a little bit more to the right side. And then gently back into center and start to work your way into your most comfortable rest. Deciding what would feel good to you. And that might even be bringing your hips back up onto that prop or setting props underneath your knees for a butterfly. Whatever that looks like, take some soft but full breaths. Bring awareness back to your breath. And bring some gentle movement into fingers and toes. And as you're ready to bend your knees and roll to your side. And then slowly press yourself back up to your seat, using as little core strength as possible. With hands coming together at heart center, take a moment with your breath to honor yourself for tuning into your energy today. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Namaste.